Hey everybody, it's Jax again from the Popcorn Review Podcast. Today's gonna be my episode 85, AEW Dynamite Summer Blockbuster. Now, this episode actually started off with Tony Schiavone in the ring calling out Tommaso Ciampa, and Ciampa pretty much comes out and says, say what you said last week that I'm better than Chris Jericho. He says no, threatens him, and right before he finishes saying those words, Chris Jericho's music hits. They come out, the crowd starts singing it. Ciampa gets upset, starts telling people no, 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 no. They finally turn off his music. They kind of go back and forth in exchange. They're definitely going to be a fight or a wrestling match with these two. If I'm not mistaken, it's probably going to happen at Forbidden Door. But we'll see. Honestly, don't know when it's going to happen. It's like Jericho's just picking up feuds with different people. Before it was Ricochet and The Demand, and now with Ciampa there. But Ricochet starts calling him bald. He even says, "Man, what do I got to do around here to fight somebody with hair?" Because everybody who's been wrestling has been bald. But those two guys start going at it, blow for blow. Security, referees start breaking them up. It's definitely building for those two to have a great feud. Probably going to happen for about a month or so. Kind of what happened with Ricochet and The Demand. So we'll see how it plays out. And he was even throwing like little jabs in there that he's bald in there as well. But we'll see. The Jet, Kevin Knight, and Don Callis have like a little back room or interview segment. Renee kind of interrupts the conversation. Andrade also interrupts that conversation and looks pissed off. He pretty much tells Kevin Knight to get into the back of the line, that he was here first. You're brand new to the Don Callis family, and you're not going to jump the line. So, kid, get to the back of the line. And Andrade also looks, when Kevin Knight walks off, he also looks at um, Don Callis and goes, "You're either with Kevin or you're either with me." So, like I mentioned, the way it's looking, Andrade, even though he's got that little attitude going on, I think he's going to turn face. Kevin Knight's probably going to take Andrade's spot, if anything. Kind of like Okada did with Takeshita. Kyle Fletcher's back. The whole team is back. So if they lose one guy, picked up Kevin Knight, they feel like it's not going to be a big difference. But Andrade looks pissed. Is Andrade going to join LFI again? Is Andrade going to have friends when he leaves the Don Callis family? He is a champion in New Japan. So what's going to happen with Andrade and the Don Callis family? Y'all let me know what y'all think. I personally feel like he might join LFI, but I've been saying for a minute now that Andrade was going to leave. Is Zelina Vega going to come back and be his mouthpiece? What do you guys think? Let me know. Also, there was a match with Moxley versus Shane Taylor from the Shane Taylor promotion. This kind of happened over the weekend. If anything, they jumped Yuta. So Moxley pretty much said that was smart. Now let's have a match. Well, Moxley was home. He's from the Cincinnati area. If I'm not mistaken, Shane Taylor's also from the Cincinnati area or Ohio area. So they kind of were saying that they had similar growing ups or similar backgrounds, that they should have been friends, if anything. They both traveled the world. But this match, guys, started off blow for blow. Yes, Moxley was kind of like the faster out of the two, but Shane Taylor was giving him those gut shots, those body shots. It was pretty much slamming the shit out of Moxley throughout this match. They kept going back and forth. What actually ended up doing Shane Taylor in, though, was a curb stomp followed by a paradigm shift. And 1, 2, 3, Moxley wins. But it was a hard fought match. They almost went the whole 20 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. But once that happened, Shane Taylor attacks Moxley. The whole promotion comes out, starts beating down the Death Riders. They even beat down on Danny Garcia and as well as Marina Shafir. But Pac was not around because Pac had a match later on, so he didn't come out to assist. But they beat down the entire Death Riders that was there. Claudio wasn't there, and Yuta wasn't also there because they just mentioned Yuta was beat down on the previous Saturday. So it's going to be a nice little feud there with the two. Not sure how it's going to work in the Death Riders' favor because technically they're kind of working against the Don Callis family. They're kind of working against the Shane Taylor promotion. So what's going to happen when they don't have enough people to support? Are they going to have assistance from the conglomeration? What do you guys think? There was also a recap of the CEO winning last week. She was one of my surprise picks to be coming back to take Willow's spot. And she pretty much had like a little vignette saying, No one can fill my shoes. This promotion or this women's roster has been falling apart. Champions have come and gone, but no one was able to fill my shoes. That's why I'm back. Well said. I did mention though, I don't feel like people were feeling her when she had um, her return. At least the crowd wasn't there, in my understanding, or at least from what I heard visually and everything. But we'll see. I definitely see Mercedes Moné winning the title from Tekla and kind of getting over that hump, not being able to win the big one in AEW, and then her having a feud later on with Willow, and then also Timeless Tony Storm, because both of those individuals beat her before she went on her downfall and losing all her titles. So I definitely see that being the case. That'd be her first two feuds, or at least two of the first two feuds that she has when she becomes AEW Women's Champion. But mark my words, Mercedes Moné, the CEO, will be the AEW Women's Champion come Wembley or right after that. You did have a match there with oh no, sorry. You did have Don Callis actually introduced Kevin Knight. Boos from the fan, fuck Don Callis. But Kevin Knight pretty much blames Darby again. Darby, this is your fault. If you didn't do what you said you were going to do, I would have never turned on you. This is, again, your fault for me turning. This is your fault. Pretty much pushing the blame on Darby. Darby Allin's music actually hits, but Kevin Knight does request MJF to come out, but Darby Allin answers the call. And Kevin Knight's kind of looking around. Where is Darby coming from? He comes from behind, hits him in the back with a skateboard. The Don Callis family just come out to try to make the save, but Darby jumps out and dips out stage left. From there was a match, like I mentioned, with Pac and Mark Briscoe. This match was decent. Totally two different type of wrestlers. One's more of a comedic guy. The other guy's more of a speed pounder. It was a really good match. They showed respect to each other, but then they started kind of getting one off on each other, getting over on each other. And both of them were doing really well. You know, Mark Briscoe does win this with the Froggy Bow. And, 1, 2, 3, respect was shown between these two, which, again, Pac doesn't have to show that respect to anyone, but he actually showed respect to Mark Briscoe. After the match, though, Mark does say, hey, MJF, get your ass out here because I have a streamline to the World Championship. Come out here so I can explain. MJF actually does answer that call and says, what do you mean? I don't owe you anything. What are you talking about? I don't owe you a damn thing. He goes, well, I talked to Tony Khan before my match, and he did say that we're going to have a main event at Forbidden Door, 6-on-6. You pick your 6, you pick your 5, I'll pick my 5, and if I win, I get a title shot. And MJF's pretty much, you ain't doing nothing. Like, I'm the top here. He was like, yeah, but you're not the boss. You're not the boss. You're the top of the mountain, but you're not the boss. So while he's talking to him, though, he does get jumped by Lethal Twist with his Jay Lethal, and I forgot the other two guys, so don't hate me on that. But MJF apparently paid these guys off to beat down Mark Briscoe. Mark Briscoe does get help from the conglomeration and announced the MJF. Then again, 6-on-6. What are you gonna do? Winner gets a match. If you win, MJF, I don't get a match. If we win, I do get a match. So let's see. From there, OC was part of the conglomeration, so he stayed out there and had a match with Andrade. To be honest with you, I think Orange Cassidy's been putting a lot of guys over the last couple weeks. At least in my opinion, he still has that gimmick that he doesn't care too much about being a wrestler and stuff like that, or he doesn't act tough during the matches. But Orange Cassidy could wrestle. If you guys haven't seen him, definitely watch some of his matches. Orange Cassidy can go. But he's been taking a lot of L's the last couple weeks, like I mentioned. And during this, him and Andrade had a decent match. Andrade got upset, pulled off his pants. He's wearing his trunks underneath. And then Orange Cassidy actually rips off his jeans, and he had jeans on top of jeans. So that shit was funny as fuck. So he's mocking Andrade. But Andrade hits him with that crazy ass back elbow. And then kind of like, I don't even know what the move's called, but he hits him with another of his finisher right after. 1, 2, 3, Andrade wins. Now, I thought Andrade was going to call out MJF again, but he gets into the ring and says, Ohio, I got one question for you. How you know? So again, the fans are liking Andrade. So like I mentioned, Andrade is going to be leaving the Don Callis family. Don't know exactly when or how or what the cause may be, but I definitely see the Don Callis family looking at Andrade the way they did at Takeshita and Kenny Omega. But we'll see, guys. From here, you had two more Owen Hart tournament matches. But you had also, before I get into that, you had a match, not a match, you had like a backstage segment with MJF talking to the Don Callis family. And he pretty much said, hey, Don, that match that was just announced, I need to borrow 5 of your guys. And Don Callis was like, hold on, man, you think I'm a fucking pimp in this motherfucker? That I just throw guys into things that they don't want to do? And MJF opens up a briefcase. Don Callis was like, well, that's all for us. He was like, yeah, that's for you. He was like, all right, well, shit, I'm gonna go buy a boat and everybody getting new clothes. So as Andrade is standing there, Andrade still looks pissed. He's like, yo, what the fuck is going on? But then Kevin Knight kind of jumps Andrade and gets in the face of MJF and says, hey, Jet 2 belt sounds pretty good. How about you give me a match? And MJF actually says yes. At least finally says yes, because Kevin's been asking for a couple weeks and he finally says yes. So is he gonna wrestle him next week on Dynamite or maybe on Collision? I don't think MJ has been on Collision on a minute. It could just be me. But what's gonna happen there? You do have Andrade pissed, and behind everybody, you saw Kyle Fletcher kind of like passing the money around to all the guys like they were all getting paid. So really funny, but Andrade is pissed. He's not happy. So y'all let me know what y'all think. So again, 2 of the matches for the Owen Hart tournament for the men's, one for the men's, one for the women. You had Sky Blue versus Maya World. I don't know too much about Maya. I know I've seen her in Ring of Honor highlights, but she had a good match. She actually took the place of someone from New Japan who's actually injured, so she stepped in. They did mention that her brother just recently passed away, and that she started wrestling because of her brother. So with that being said, Maya World actually pulls out an upset, at least in my opinion, beats Sky Blue. Sky Blue's in shock. It was a good match. They were both going back and forth. Sky Blue was fucking around with her because she is the better wrestler, but Maya World does take the win and moves on to the next round of the Owen Hart tournament, where she will face Athena. I am shocked. I really think that Sky Blue is the future of the women's division in AEW. So to have her lose or put someone else over is either one of two things. They did it because Maya World just had her brother pass away, or Sky Blue was always intended to lose. So they just continued the story with a new person who took the place. Y'all let me know what y'all think. I'm upset Sky Blue lost, but she's gonna be there for the future for the long haul. And I definitely see at some point her and Kyle Fletcher sitting at the top of the mountain, her with the women's AEW championship and him with the men's AEW championship, and then being a couple kind of running the whole show. But y'all let me know what y'all think. So again, Maya World did beat Sky Blue in the Owen Hart tournament to go face Athena in a shocker, at least to me. Swerve versus Brody King for the main event. Now, you did have Brody King say, you're going to hurt my friend, I'm going to hurt you back. And that's pretty much what happened. They were going in on each other, blow for blow. Yes, Brody King's the bigger guy. Brody King can also wrestle his ass off. Cannonball, power slams, just throwing Swerve around. Put Swerve through a table. Nana got involved multiple times. Brody King busted open from the turnbuckle. Curtain call from the top of the fucking of the ropes. Like I think he hit him with multiple curtain calls, if I'm not mistaken. Swerve stomp in midair, double stomp down. Like it's just crazy. Like this match was insane. You heard "fuck ice" during this. You heard Swerve's house. You heard Brody King chants. Match was incredible. Everything I said it was going to be. Swerve does steal the win with the help of Prince Nana. They kind of knock Brody King out. Like I said in previous videos, it's going to be Swerve Strickland versus his little brother, Will Ospreay, for the finals, where Will Ospreay is going to take it and go to his have his Wembley moment, in front of his home crowd. Now, there is one thing that I noticed during yesterday's match, or after Will won the week before. They had like a backstage segment. He was excited. He was like, "Yeah, I owe the Death Riders everything. They helped me get that killer instinct back." And just as he was saying he was going to go look for them, his fiance or wife, Alex Windsor, runs into his arms crying because she lost her chance to go to Wembley and wrestle in front of her fans and her family crowd. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword. He's happy for himself, but he feels sad for his wife. So again, it's kind of hard to, feel how he's feeling or understand how he's feeling, but I get it. Happy for himself, but he can't show too much emotion because his wife is distraught from her loss. But great night of AEW Summer Blockbuster. There is supposed to be, I think, another Summer Blockbuster for Collision this weekend. They had the popcorn buckets I heard about, which was like the AEW Men's Championship belt with the popcorn bucket. They had the Dynamite Diamond Ring as a popcorn bucket. I even heard that they were selling was Harley Cameron's puppet. So AEW, congratulations, y'all doing your thing. Can't wait to see what else y'all got going. Cannot wait for Forbidden Door. But great episode of Dynamite, guys. Thanks for watching. Have a great one.